Hello, playful souls. We are doing the weekly forecast for the 13th through the 19th of August 2023. And today we are going to be using the Mystical Shaman Oracle, which is by Vilaldo, Baron Reed, and Lobos. And here's the book. And these are wonderful cards in my experience because they have such a massive variety of possibilities. How are y'all's weeks going? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what is resonating with you this week. I'm feeling a lot of different experiences in the world. It's very hot. It's very heat of summer, very moving into a lot of retrogrades, Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, things along those lines. So all of those energies are coming around in the collective unconscious. And so let's see what it feels like for the reading. All right, so first the reading for the entire week. Pachamama. Pachamama. Pachamama is the Mesoamerican Gaia, effectively. And Pachamama, if we can't feel the earth calling to us this week in whatever way is possible, either to lean into the experience of heat, if that's what you're experiencing at this moment, or to lean into the experience of very like Earth is, she's right there. She's like, you got to pay attention to me. You got to pay attention to my flows. You got to pay attention to everything there, because Pachamama is abundance and also the freedom to express itself. And then it's also all the things that come with the kind of lack of discernment. The masculine aspect is what brings in discernment, whereas Pachamama is creation and doesn't try to limit anything that is there. So Pachamama, that is the reading for what covers the week of the 13th through the 19th. Let's do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. The spiral. All right, we are feeling so much feminine energy this week, aren't we? It's amazing. The spiral. So the thing I love about the spiral is this idea that if you look at a clock face, it looks as if every single day is hitting 12, 2, 4, 6, all the way back up to 12 again. And it looks like it's very two-dimensional, like, oh my gosh, it's 12 o'clock again, right? Except for when we start to recognize that there is an understanding that everything is spiraling. The 2 o'clock that is today, we're not in the same place in the solar system as we were in the 2 o'clock that was yesterday. We're not even on the same place in the Earth's axis of rotation because we are in a different spatial place within our solar system. And what we can recognize is that when we start to look at life as a spiral, whether a downward spiral or an upward spiral is kind of another topic of discussion, but just looking at the essence of the spiral, we recognize that things that are cyclical rarely stay at rest, in the sense that even cycles are moving, right? They're spiraling, very much like the DNA double helix, very much like anything. There's very little in life that is truly cyclical, in the sense of it actually just goes back to exactly where it was. There's always a motion in our spiral that we're seeing that tends towards something. If we were to say this is a precessional motion, the spiral is moving and the precession is the angular force that's coming off of that precession. The law of precession being the precession of the equinoxes, the honey before money concept, which a lot of my clients I work with, we've been talking a lot about that type of precession right now. So that is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is all about the spiral. So when we recognize the spiral, sometimes it's good to recognize to say, am I in a downward spiral? Am I allowing thoughts and recursive thoughts to come into my field right now that's making it so that I can't quite get a hold on something that's going to pull me out of this space? Or am I recognizing that there's an upward spiral, and maybe I'm just in a place in that upward spiral that feels very not moving anywhere, or it feels like it's the same place that it's been. And when it feels like it's not moving somewhere, or it's in the same place, just remember it feels like 2 o'clock again because you just did 2 o'clock yesterday, but it's a very different 2 o'clock because it has the spiral. All right, next, let's see what else the great mother Pachamama has for us this week, has in store for us. I can tell you I have no air conditioning in my house, which is very much a certain type of problem for living in the South, the choice to live in the South, things along those lines, but I am feeling Mother Earth in a huge way. All right, so next we have the reading for Wednesday and Thursday, which is the 16th and 17th, and it is the Vision Quest. This is the second time that I've gotten this card. So it's interesting because I will look at it from my own perspective of what am I actually looking for in my own space. But the Vision Quest, especially in this deck, is all about what are you not hearing? So I'm asking you guys, what are you not hearing right now? I call it the elephant in the room. It's this experience of knowing that there's something that is very obvious that you're taking for granted. You assume will always be there and you assume it's stable. So it could be a person that is just toxic and you've just chosen to keep them in your life in the same way that they are showing up right now. It could be a piece of your own inner villainy. So I explore that a lot with my clients. Like when you're looking at your own inner villainy, are you denying this part that is just fundamentally does not believe that you should be happy and wants to work actively against that? Or are you in the place of victim and you're not recognizing that you're constantly going into that place? What part of your shadow is calling right now and asking you to step into your vision quest to actually lean into the thing, the elephant in your room? That's the question, right? And lastly, for the last 2 days of the week, which is the 18th and 19th of August. All right. Wild woman. Can we say that Pachamama has a massive, massive influence on what is going on this week? There is just all sorts of mother energy coming up right now. And so what we see, wild woman is the expression of that inner dragon, that inner divine feminine inside of you that is unhindered and wants to sing and dance and get bloody and dirty and just have all sorts of, passionate experiences. Like that is the wild woman. I just got back from my wild woman weekend trip, which is just my opportunity to express myself in kind of all of its wonderful ways. A lot of the time it's rest at this point since we're all very busy wild women. But whatever that looks like, what is the wild woman? And this goes for both those who, for anywhere you're showing up in terms of your gender. Gender fluidity in the sense of like there's a wild woman aspect in those who choose to express themselves as women, but then there's also a wild woman aspect, which is just what is that unencumbered, unhindered. I'm just going to create and explore. What does that look like? This can be for anybody. So what we see, if we want to look back at the entire week, is we can see an interesting movement of Pachamama's coming into our life. She beautifully lacks discernment. And then we're seeing the spiral, which is the absolute essence of nature and Mother Nature coming into the world. And then we have the vision quest, which says, hey, I want to come into the world. And what is it that is hindering me actually coming into the world? What's the vision quest? What's the elephant in my room right now? And then it says, once I get rid of that, or as a method to address that and whatever's in the vision quest, what is my wild woman? What is that expression of the wild woman? All right. All right, so this week's question is, can you actually feel energy moving through your body when you do energy work? So I do what is a form of significant trauma clearing when I do energy healing. And it's really fascinating because all of us have different senses in terms of kinesthetic or audio, visual, things along those lines. So you clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, claircognizant. Clairsentience is basically the kind of kinesthetic feeling. We all have a sense that is available to us. Human design is something that I look at because it has a particular sense that you can, a cognition that oftentimes I relate to how people feel when they do a session with me. So for instance, I have one person who's very good at inner vision, and we use inner vision as their tool of play, right? So when we're doing energy work together, we utilize inner vision because that is their main cognition. Other people are feeling, right? Other people are feeling in the sense that whether it's because of trauma that they become hypervigilant with their feel, with their sense of touch, or some people store trauma in their mental body, which is in that electrical level, which makes it so that they're very sensitive to touch, and they have a very strong protection mechanism. The expression of feeling energy work is very varied. Some people feel every single thing and they can describe exactly what I'm doing to them, right? So I'm moving my hands. It's a form of energy that it's like a form of light work, basically, a light language that's coming through my hands, and they can feel all the manipulations of their aura that are happening to them in very specific tactile experience. And then there are other people who don't. There are other people who think I'm waving my hands above their bodies, and that's where a lot of people feel a numbness when it comes to feeling in their bodies, maybe because it's not their cognition or maybe because their trauma has basically made it so that they don't want to. And then some people just haven't necessarily developed that ability. But what I will do then is to recognize that there's another entry point in which to do the energy work. So then I usually use verbal, and I usually use stories and visions and things along those lines to enter through their mind so that I can access their body cognitively as well as energetically. If you ask me, my cognition is feeling, so I can absolutely feel what is going on. A lot of the things that I do are just work through me. I'm not actually thinking about what it is that I'm doing. Like, my mind is the dumbest part of me. Like, if I were to actually try and figure out what it is that I'm doing, it's usually that my mind figures it out after I've already started to do it. And then probably 20 to 40% of the things that I do, I don't even actually recognize cognitively what's going on. I just know that it's working. When it comes to do I actually feel energy work, I'd say yes. But a lot of it travels through me, and I make sure that it's my job to stay as clear as possible of any outside influences, that energetic influences that would make it so that that something could use and hijack that system, because that would not be a good thing. So I'm going to do a healing session because we've talked about energy work today. So I want to give a huge warning right now. It's actually not a warning, it's just a moment of discernment inside of you. So the moment of discernment says, yes, I actually want to do this. So go inside your body, right? Maybe it's in your sacral. Maybe you want to say yes or no. Maybe you feel yes or no. You should probably do an entire session on how to get your own yes or no. But whatever your yes or no is, trust that right now for, yes, I want to have this energy healing. Okay. So Pachamama is wanting to come through in everybody's space right now. So if Pachamama is wanting to come through in everyone's space, that's where we can recognize that we're going to do a healing for the divine feminine that sits inside of people, right? And everybody, every single human that exists has this aspect of the divine feminine, of the receptive centers that come in, as well as the expressive and transmutational sectors. Like transmutation as opposed to transformation. Transmutation is deeper, right? It's like an elemental shift, right? Like a shift from calcium to, fluoride. That's not possible, but there's the alchemist in me, or the chemist in me. So yeah, we're just going to do this right now for anybody who wants to have an opening and an expression of their divine feminine nature. And what you may feel as a result of this is you may feel an inspiration to follow and to move the energy through your body in a different kind of way, or to transmute something that's happening. So, what I always say about reality TV is energetically one of those really funny things, because in some ways, and cognitively, our mind is trying to understand threat, right? That's why we watch the news. That's why we do this. Where our mind is wanting to understand the threats that are available to us. And if we've gone through a lot of trauma, we are very hypervigilant. So we're like, hey, there's a source of something that I can literally watch. And if I watch that thing, then I'm able to anticipate danger in things that I didn't even know existed. But what that does energetically is that we are tapping into old spaces of trauma when we go into watching reality TV in particular, or true crime, is that we're tapping into these old spaces within the collective unconscious, and we're processing that energy through our bodies. And sometimes we're also using it to jumpstart our emotional bodies. Like, we feel numb. We feel like we can't feel anything. So we have to look at more and more and more extreme things in order to kind of jumpstart the emotional body in order to be able to get it working. So knowing all those things, it's probably a bit of a combination of all of them. So take it or leave it, but that's my view on why stuff like true crime and first reality TV and now true crime have become really popular. So we're going to finish up the energy clearing here. There's a lot that wants to be cleared. And you can say, I can feel this, or you can say, she's just waving her hands. All right. Thanks, y'all.